Hi, everybody. Frank Spicer, CEO of Metafide, co-founder. Also with us today are Keyboard Yeti, our trusted community mod, and Matt Cross, co-founder and chief business development officer. We're recapping the space from Tuesday, July 29th, and we talked about a lot today. Uh, it was a really good space. We fought through some technical difficulties from X, but managed to get it out there. Um, Before I spoil it, Matt, what did you take away from today?
Yeah, I would say today's a great conversation. We're talking a little bit more about the development pathline of FIDE and, some of the things that we're doing to give back to the community, building out a deflationary system so that we could have, price appreciation on the token and that we can give people exposure to AI applied to financial markets through the ability to utilize the human signal, which everyone's contributing to, run our own strategies on our treasury and then take some of those rewards and buy back the token and burn them out of existence as a way to redistribute that to the rest of the community holders and share in the upside success of it all.
Yeah, what about you, Yeti? Froze him up. Yeti's been locked up. All right. Well, we'll just keep going, Matt. Yeah, so we talked about it quite a bit today, right? Starting with the market recap. BTC is up. It's pushing 119K. ETH is up quite a bit over the previous, 2 weeks. And I think what we're looking at is essentially maybe a return to DeFi innovation. At least there's going to be an increased usefulness for ETH to be staked and for consensus and people to validate. So that's all great news. You have all these other speculative SPACs and odd financial constructs around ways to aggregate a bunch of ETH that look kind of like ETFs but aren't ETFs. I think that has probably something to do with it. Uh, Let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, we've seen a bunch of attempts to buy a bunch of ETH. But what do you make of that?
Yeah, I think it's what some people have been asking for a long time now, which is, Ethereum ETF. They want a Solana ETF. They, want a Polkadot ETF, and they want access to these in their retirement funds, and they want to be able to buy it off of an exchange that they're already comfortable with. And so, people have gone around and figured out some type of way to innovate, and they're kind of following along the Michael Saylor strategy of, utilizing this corporate treasury to hold, blank asset and then issue debt to continue to buy more of that asset. And I think, for the meantime, it will work, but it also becomes, very risky as one of those people eventually issue too much debt, leaving themselves exposed. And then it kind of comes like toppling down. And a lot of people then will understand, okay, I don't really have full exposure or own this asset. I'm just getting exposure through this SPAC or, whatever said institution who trades on the stock market is purchasing it. And maybe there's a better way to do it. And then eventually they migrate into purchasing their own ETH on one of these exchanges and then holding it in some type of wallet.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, you teed up another thing that we talked about, which is the Genius Act essentially created a class of money on the edge that's fully backed one to one. So stable tokens deployed into DeFi products are fully redeemable at the US dollar value of those assets. I think that was great, and it potentially opens the door for a lot of new innovation, new financial products. However, over the weekend, there was a bunch of cautionary articles published, uh, taking shots at the newly forming Web3 ecosystem and saying, "Oh, there's a coming crash." And the way they framed it was, companies like JP Morgan are socializing the concept of lending against their clients' crypto assets. So they're taking potentially what is a fully backed asset and then again fractionalizing it and implementing a credit system around it where they could collateralize some credit products and then if they default claim those out of existence and essentially just extending the money supply that's been an issue so far. It's almost like taking a clean, brand new class of money and subjecting it to the same rules which are eroding the existing value in the existing financial system. But what it does do is at least that opens up the door for people to in a financial sense, democratically participate in these products and get some of the upside, but it transfers a bunch of responsibility to people in investing into the right things. Uh, I assume we'll see a bunch of people get on paper rich from this. What we'll also see is a bunch of crashes happen because it's just a continuation of sort of the fiat policies that got us into this situation in the first place. And I see Yeti's back. What do you think about that, Yeti? You know, we've been around in the Web3 crypto space for a while. I've seen a few cycles, and now this looks like not just a crypto thing, but a Fed-backed, central banked, uh, you know, credit system. Are you in favor of this, or what cautions do you have about this?
I mean, I'm in favor of it in a way. It's like, you guys have been talking about it in the last few spaces where it's these trade-offs against, you've got the kind of surveillance kind of state kind of trade-off of this legislation coming in. But the like use case scenario for it, the utility scenario for me outweighs that. It's like something that I feel like we have to be kind of pushing back against the surveillance side of it. It's like you can't let that just go by. But the one-to-one backed stable coins, just as like for global utility and market efficiency, seems like a bit of a no-brainer to me. Like yeah, kind of had to happen, and will be
And
very, very useful.
what about the concept of lending out against those assets, though? Like that, the
I mean, so that feels inevitable to me as well. I don't know, it's like, yeah, it's kind of instilling the same problems as before, but I mean, these aren't value-driven organizations, are they? They're entirely profit-driven organizations that will, if they can do it, they will do it. And maybe that's something that should have we maybe that needs pushing back against. But while the options there, of course, they're gonna, it feels inevitable to me.
and that's another thing we talked about. Uh, Matt mentioned, and I mentioned that in these things, you know, people operate according to like the laws of the jungle. Essentially, whatever nature can get away with, whatever is doable will be done, right? And so the final lesson, I guess, in all this is that you got to figure out a way to do it uh, that protects yourself because nobody's really going to protect you. If that's not apparent by now, that yeah, you could get some consumer protection and some regulatory protection, but you can also be stupid. And if you're stupid, then the kind of things that happen to stupid people will happen to you. So it's unfortunate, but if you're dumb, you'll be taken advantage of in the way that dumb people are taken advantage of. And so everybody says do your own research, and everybody says not your keys, not your crypto. But also, if it's not collateralized, if there's not a way to redeem it, then it's not going to be in your benefit, right? So we talked about that. We also talked about what we want to do about all this, right? And and we should spend a little bit of time here recapping that, right? If we're going to use the signal from our games, and we're going to have a way to commodify and sell that signal in a package or execute those trades on the market, we also want the people along for the ride to be able to take some of the FIDE token and commit it to that effort as well. So they will be rewarded for the entire value creation. And we talked a lot about what drives a bunch of the people in the space to try to, what I think is thinking too small, and they try to wind up capturing 100% of the value and boxing everybody else out and then running away with a tiny piece of scrap from the table instead of trying to build something that gets everybody rewarded, right? And Matt, you've been in a position to see these companies, invest in these companies, see them come and go. We talked about it on the space, but what do you think? What do you think that's all about? Like, why is the case that these people are just grabbing what they can and running off with it and not thinking about the long term ramifications of it?
Yeah, like I said in the space, the original group of crypto were people who were idealistic, who were trying to create, a better world, decentralized finance, be your own bank, be your own insurance company, do your own remittances and settlement overnight. And now what you have is a lot of lost hope because, those initial products didn't work out right away. It wasn't as easy to build as they thought it was going to be. It's like, hey, you're taking down institutions. You think you're going to be able to eat their lunch for free? No, it's going to come at a cost, and they're going to do whatever they take to make sure that you don't succeed. And now what you have is a bunch of grifters who came into the space who just want instant money. They want to get rich quick. And now they've looked at all this value that's locked up here and just said, hey, how can I extract as much value from one system into another and take my piece of it and run? And so you have people just building these, extraction machines. And it's been kind of a bloodbath for the last couple of years because we've kind of lost the innovation. So we need new people to come in who have hope and bright ideas and bring some of that innovation back to the space and go back to serving the people, which once it was originally about.
Yeah. Yep. I think that's the point. That's what we're about. So, we explained sort of how we're gonna go about that. For now, I think that's where we leave it. Don't forget to find us on Discord, discord.gg/Fide-token. Find us on YouTube at Metafide. Find us on X at Fide_AI. And make sure you're registered on the waitlist at surge.metafide.io because it's getting pretty crowded. We have quite a few folks on the list already, but we want you to be involved. And anybody, it's still not too late. You can get involved, and we'll roll it out to you as space becomes available. But now's the time. Join us on the ride because it's been a great ride so far, and I'm having fun doing it with everybody. Thanks a lot, and we'll see you on the next one, Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time.
Take care, everyone.
Metafide is the only AI-powered Bitcoin prediction game where traders compete in real time to forecast BTC's price in a fast 1 to 5 minute round. Test your skills against global players. Take on 1x risk with the ability to win multiplied payouts and prize pots. The more accurate and early, the better the outcome. Pre-register now for early access to generational wealth.